It's summer. What a better way to celebrate than some beautiful fresh strawberries. Today I'm going to make this amazing strawberry cream cake. So let's get saucy. Hey foodie friends. You know, it was my husband's birthday the other day, so I decided to make him this cake. Now, he doesn't like things that are overly sweet, so this is a nice moist vanilla cake with whipped cream filling and some fresh strawberries. Now, the cream I didn't add a lot of sugar to, like I said, because he doesn't like desserts that are too sweet. But anyway, let's jump right in. So first, in a small bowl, you will combine 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour, 1/8 of a teaspoon of kosher salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Whisk those together and set them aside. Then, in the bowl of your stand mixer, or just using another bowl with a hand mixer, I don't have a hand mixer, so I always use my stand mixer, with a paddle attachment if you're using a stand mixer or your beaters with your hand mixer, you're going to cream together 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter with 1/2 cup of sugar. You're going to mix that well for about a minute or two just to get it really well incorporated. And then you're going to add in 1 whole egg, and I'm going to use a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then I make my own vanilla extract, so I have vanilla beans in there. I'm going to pull one of the beans out, snip the end off, and then I'll squeeze the seeds out of the pod into the cake. It's going to have flecks of the vanilla beans in there. It's going to be beautiful, and it's going to bump that flavor up. So you could either use just a tablespoon of vanilla extract, or you could do what I did if you have vanilla beans. Otherwise, vanilla bean paste would be great too. Anyway, so moving on, we're going to mix those in well, and then we're going to add, once that's well incorporated, we're going to add 1/2 of our flour mixture. And I have here some heavy cream that I mixed with a little bit of vinegar. So it's kind of a loose sour cream texture. You can do a couple of things here. You can use either some just heavy cream. You could use some whole milk with a little bit of vinegar. You could use buttermilk. So this is about 6 tablespoons of that mixture. So 5.5-ish tablespoons of heavy cream, and then a dash of vinegar. So I'm going to add the flour in first, 1/2 of the flour, mix that in, then 1/2 of the cream mixture and mix that in. And once that's incorporated, I'm going to go again with the other 1/2 of the flour, mix that in, and then the rest of the cream and mix that in. Now, don't overmix that because your cake is going to get tough. You'll work out the gluten too much in the flour. So just gently mix that. Once all the flour you see is combined, pull your bowl and give it a good scrape and fold it a couple of times. Then we're going to prepare a 6-inch cake pan by spraying it with some baking spray. So baking spray is basically cooking spray, but it has a little bit of flour in there. So it's going to help to release your cake, but also give it something to stick to kind of pull up the sides of the pan a little bit better. So spray the pan, cut a round of parchment paper, put that in the bottom, and then spray the parchment paper as well. Then we're going to put in our batter and smooth it out. Tap it on the counter a couple of times to make sure there aren't any big air bubbles in there. And I also used a cake strip. So a cake strip is a piece of kind of padded fabric that you soak in water, squeeze the excess water out and wrap it around your pan. This is going to help the cake rise evenly so it doesn't dome on top. You don't have to do that if you don't have it. Don't worry about it. You'll just have to, maybe level off your cake a little bit. So the cake is now going to go in the oven at 350 degrees for, 35 to 40 minutes. And it'll be done, when a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. Now, during that baking, if you do notice that your cake starts to get a little too brown on top, you can cover it loosely with a piece of foil, which is what I did. And you can see here that my foil kind of stuck to the top of my cake and pulled a little piece off when I took it off. But that's fine because this is going to actually be the bottom of our cake, or even if it wasn't, we're going to cover it with whipped cream anyway, so you'll never be able to see that. So once that's done, we're going to leave it on a rack in the pan for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we will flip it over, turn it out of the pan, and gently peel the parchment paper off the bottom of the cake, and then let it cool completely to room temperature. Now, once it cooled to room temperature, I popped it in the fridge and let it chill out in there while I finished making the whipped cream for the filling. So to do that, again, I use my stand mixer with the whisk attachment this time, and I put 1.5 cups of heavy cream and 1/4 cup of powdered sugar and a dash of vanilla extract. So again, if you want it a little bit sweeter, you can add more powdered sugar as you like, probably 1/2 cup. I wouldn't maybe go more than that. And then give that a good whisk until you get some nice stiff peaks. All right, now that our whipped cream is done, we're gonna go back to our cake. So I'm gonna cut my cake in half, and you can use just a serrated knife for this. I just so happen to have this cake cutter, so it has a small wire that can be adjusted to cut your cake, and this is gonna help me to cut it exactly evenly across. So I'm gonna just gently go through with that in a little sawing motion and cut my cake in half, all right? And then you can see that these pieces are nice and even. So now I also have taken some acetate, and again, you don't have to do this. You can do this if you had like a 6-inch springform pan, you could use that to do this, or you could use parchment paper, but I got some acetate, so I'm gonna put a little dollop of whipped cream in the center of my cake plate and put the bottom layer, which is actually the top of the cake flipped upside down, on there, and I'm going to wrap it with the acetate and tape that. Now I'm going to prepare some strawberries by cutting the tops off and cutting them in half. And I just went around the outside of my other cake with the strawberries just to make sure I knew how many I was going to need. So I didn't want to cut a whole bunch of extra strawberries that I wasn't going to need. So I used my other bottom of my cake as a guide. So then we're going to put in a little layer of our whipped cream on the bottom of the cake and run our strawberries around the outside edge, facing the cut side out, so they look really pretty. And then we're gonna fill that in with more whipped cream. So fill that in, get it in there, use your spatula or whatever you're using. I don't have a small offset spatula that can fit in here, so I'm just using this small rubber spatula, and get it in between the strawberries as good as you can and fill that area with the whipped cream and a little bit above the strawberries. And then we're going to gently place our other cake on top of that and give it a nice little kind of, not press, but just kind of, make sure it's in there good and tight. And finally, I'm going to finish that off with the rest of this whipped cream. So it's going to basically fill the entire thing with whipped cream on top too. And it's absolutely beautiful, as you can see. And we're going to pop that back in the fridge for a couple of hours just to give that cream some time to firm up a little bit. All right, now we're back. Okay, so look, isn't this beautiful? So we're going to gently remove this acetate from the cake, and I'm just gonna plop another strawberry on top of there as a garnish, and there she is. Foodie friends, this is a gorgeous little cake. It's perfect for a small gathering, or we could up the recipe and make a bigger cake if you wanted to, but this one is great. All right, let's give it a taste. I've got my slice here. Look how beautiful that is, right? The strawberry on the outside. That is absolutely delicious. The cake is really moist and beautiful vanilla flavor. And like I said, that whipped cream, not a lot of sugar in there, so it's not overly sweet. It really complements the cake really perfectly. And this beautiful strawberry adds a little tartness. It is absolutely delicious. Now, that being said, next time I make this, what I might do is stabilize my whipped cream a little bit by adding some cream cheese into it, just to give it a little more body so that it kind of stands up to this cake better, because this is a kind of a denser cake, right? So it's a little bit hard to cut this, but absolutely delicious either way. So foodie friends, if you make this, please let me know in the comments, and check the description box below for a link to the full written recipe. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me on Getting Saucy with Chef Lynn. You can follow me across all social media at Chef Lynn Wheeler, and I'll see you guys next time. Mm. Oh, good.